So the point of this video is to explain the idea of a fundamental niche and a realized niche. And if you take a look at what I'm trying to show you more prominently on this video, it would be the barnacles. These little crustaceans that make these shells. And they live in them. But as you can see, some of these are empty. And the reason that they're empty is because they're dead. If you also see, some of them are submerged. And you can't really see well into the water, but there you go. And some of them are not. And actually, some of the ones that are not submerged are still alive. If you see the ones that are closed, there are a couple in there. If you take a good, careful look, they're probably still alive. So why do I explain any of that? Why are we talking about barnacles? Well, there was a famous experiment done by Connolly. And what he did was look at two different species of barnacles and their distribution on a rocky coast. And as you can see, we're at a coast. We're not the same coast as him, but we are at a coast. So his question was, why was one species of barnacles found higher up on the rocks in a place that would be more prone to drying out, and one species of barnacles was always lower down? And the real answer came from, there could have been a couple different potential answers, but the real answer came from competition. The one that was up higher was better able to withstand the abiotic conditions of this zone where it would be dry at sometimes and be completely submerged at sometimes. But that dryness was what stopped the other species of barnacles from getting higher up the rock. So that other species could not withstand the dry conditions. If you put them both together, what would happen in a place where it was always wet and that other species could survive because it wasn't too dry, would be that the species that only was found in the dry areas would be outcompeted. It could not survive. In fact, it would do better in moist areas if the other species wasn't there. So the other species would outcompete it, and this is where we get into the idea of a realized and a fundamental niche. So a realized niche is when competition is around, what parts of the environment, what resources does a particular species use? Whereas a fundamental niche is potentially without competition. Where would you find that species? What would it be doing? What would it be doing with its entire life? What resources would it be using? Yes, that all goes into the idea of a niche. The difference between fundamental and realized, again, is competition, is the reality. A realized niche is reality. It's like, where do you actually find it when competition does exist? What does it actually do with its life? Because a niche is really all of that. It's what it does in its life, and that influences the resources it uses. That it's all of that, part and parcel of that. So that was a famous experiment. I wanted to show you barnacles while we did it. And thank you so much for listening.